Okay, so good evening, everyone. This is week 9 of Essential of Data Science with R software, sampling theory and linear regression analysis. I am TA of this course, Kamna Mishra, from the School of Mathematical and Statistical Sciences, IIT Mandi. And this course is instructed by basically Professor Salab, who is from Department of Mathematics and Statistics, IIT Kanpur. So these are some useful links we have. Okay, so main points for today's class. So till now we have seen what is the sampling theory. Just a minute, there is a problem with camera. Okay, so till now what we have seen is that we have seen how we can do the sampling. So for the sampling part, we have gone through random sampling. We have seen how we can do the stratified sampling, how we can make the strata. After that, we have seen how based on this we can find the mean, variance, etc. And the next we have gone through that if we do not have this option of getting the real distribution or something like that, or if we have the real distribution and we are unable to find, like, or let's say it's mean or variance, the expression of that, if it is very complex, then we need to have some other methods. So based on that, so what we do is that based on bootstrap methodology, we see what is empirical distribution function, which is similar to which is like um, not similar, basically, which if we cannot define the cumulative distribution function in a proper way, then we can make use of empirical distribution function, and we say that when the sample size is large enough, then the uh, uh, frequency or the density, whatever you want to say, that will be similar for theoretical one and the uh, experimental one. So we can make use of bootstrap methodology, and in that bootstrap also we can take care of strata. So uh, then we have seen that how we can find the confidence interval, etc. For different methods. So we have seen when the variance is known, etc., and when it is unknown, how we can find the confidence interval based on that. After that, we have seen that there are, in the last class we have gone through that there are five methods to find uh, the confidence interval for bootstrap samples. So sampling theory and linear regression analysis. So till now, what we have done is that we have understood that how we can make the samples in such a way that the results will be good. It will give us the better results. Now we will go through uh, what is called the linear regression analysis. So today's class we are gonna start what are the linear models and what is the linear regression analysis. Okay, so what is the linear regression analysis? If we will try to find it in very basic way, then it is that, well, let's say you have a two data, or let's say one data frame, and which belongs to two or three columns. Now, if they are linearly correlated, so whenever we find the Pearson correlation, let's say. So, so the correlation test, Pearson one, it gives basically the linear relationship between two. Okay. So, if we will start the linear regression analysis, we will say that if we will have some data points, so how we can say that what is the best line? Uh, like if I have data, let's say I have this line and I have data here, 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 here. Okay. Now, if I sketch one line here, now you can see that these points are very close, right, to the line. But these points are so far from here. Now, if I make another line, then what will happen? These points are little bit close and these points are little bit far. So, in linear regression analysis, we need to find this line. It does not need to be starting from the zero, it can be from here also. So, this line can be a line of linear regression analysis. So, what does it simply means that if I have uh, one x and y variable, then if there is a scatter plot, we know, but how these are how we can find a line which is like best, and we can say that these are related with this line. Okay, so there can be several line and there is very less possibility that there will be like if I will have data like this, and sorry, just if you will meet all the points in just one line. Okay, let's say this. So you know now that this is the relationship between x and y. So this is the relation. So x, now x and y, we can find what is the angle, and in based on that we can write how it is related. So I have taken intercept here 0. So what is this line? This is basically the line y equal to mx. So we must have gone through this in our basics. So y is equal to mx is one line. Now the data points in the real life, they are never like correlated like this. Otherwise, y and x, the correlation will be just one. So they are not related like this. So there will be some points must be here, some must be here. So this is what we can do is that there is one thing that uh, make a plot which is like which will cover most of the data. So if you will uh, so I have just taken the data we have taken in this class. Now if I will plot this is, you can see that the points are not in just one line. Okay, but there is some relation that when it is increasing, this is also increasing. Okay, there is one thing, scatter dot smooth and b and r. Now here you can see it has given me one line, right? So what it has tried, scatter dot smooth, to cover the this line covers the data in such a way that it will be closer to the points, right? So here there are more points. So it has started from this and then there is one point. So here, and then it has covered, and here it has given you one line. But as you can see that this is not a linear line, right? This is if I will try to find the equation of this line, then I cannot find it very easily, because here it is somewhere moving, or let's say if it, even if it is straight, then it is straight from here, then here it is following some another path, here it is following some different path like exponential one or something else. So we know that we cannot find just a lot of it anyways in direct way. So in linear regression analysis, what we do is that we try to find the linear line, so the linear relation between these two data sets. Okay, so what we have is that in this type of examples, we can it is not just needed that we need to have linear relation between just two variables. We can have it with multiple variables. Now in that, uh, what can happen is that, let's say I have a data. So there will be some dependent variable and some independent variable. So for the dependent variable, uh, we will take that the independent variable, this y, and then the dependent variable, this x1, x2, x3. We will take this one is the function of the another one. So let's say I have x1, x2, x3. So if y is the function of all of this, we will take y is f x1, x2, and x3. So now, if let's say the example we have taken in our last class, what we have done, we have taken that based on uh, number of rows, we will have uh, so number of runs. Okay. So this is our y, this is our x till now. Okay. Now, what can be the other one? Let's say this one is x1, this one is x2. Now, the number of runs will depend of a lot of many factors too. Now, let's say there is one cricketer who is good in bowling, there's one who is good in batting. So, if the person who is good in batting uh, will have even less number of balls, there is high chance that he will play better than the one who has more number of balls, because that is why there is uh, a prediction, like we cannot predict the cricket anyways in that way. So we just expect that if he has good in his past, then there is high chance that he will do better in the next one. Okay. So now let's say this one is number of runs, this one is number of balls, and this one is some previous score. Okay. Now some previous score, let's say I am uh, giving in between 0 to 1. Okay. Or 0 to 1 or 0 to yeah, let's say 0 to 1. So let's say if he's good in batting, so I'm giving it point 0.9. If he's not, then I'm giving it point 0.1 or point 0.15, etc. So we will assign this randomly in our case, but for the real one we can have this data. So this is one variable on which it can depend. So we can have the number of runs dependent on number of balls, and more also on previous score. So if his previous score is better, then his runs, number of runs, will also be better. Okay. Now, what are the other factors you can think of? Like if this one is better, then the number of runs can be better. Can you think of one more variable? Uh, okay, so one more variable can be the number of day he practice. Okay, in a week. So if a person, even if he's very good in cricket and he does not practice, like whatever days they practice, like 5 out of 7 or 4 out of 7. So if a person who just practice 1 out of 7 or does not practice at all, so we can take in like let's say for 3 months. Okay, so number of days practiced in last 3 months. Okay, so last 3 months basically, let's say 90 days. Okay, so if the person is uh, has practiced, let's say 60 days, 70 days, then there is high chance that he will play better than the person who has practiced 10 days or 20 days. So these are some factors. There can be a lot and lots of factors dependent on it, but these are some factors which uh, are very important to gain that number of runs in that particular cricket match. Okay, so if person have practiced well enough for that particular cricket, there is high chance that they will do better in their area. I mean, there is nothing like that this is gonna happen, but there is high chance. So you can see that we have some variables now. They all are independent. Okay, so previous is score. So maybe a person have scored uh, better and then he has stopped practicing. Maybe he has scored better and then he tried to make it better. So maybe he has not practiced enough. So that is why previous is scored. So it is not, we are not taking it dependent in each other. And the number of balls, so number of balls they have played, so that can also depend on this. But right now what we are doing is that we are not saying that x1, x2 and x3 are dependent on each other. We are saying that y, our y is dependent on these factors. So now we need to find some linear relationship. So these are input or independent variable, and this is particularly output, or so this one is output or dependent one. Okay, so this one is output or the dependent variable. So what we have is that based on independent one, we try to find the dependent one. So when we do linear regression analysis, what makes it better? So what we have is that when we try to create the linear models, what we do is that we have the data for all. Let's say for the first time we have the data for all. Okay, so we try to uh, do some test. Let's say we are dividing the data into 80% of the data and 20% of the data. Based on this data, we try to fit a linear model, and here we do the prediction. So we see how well enough our model is. So right now we are not doing that. What we are starting is that we will try uh, to find we will try to fit the model in the whole data, and then we we see that how that particular linear one, like here, as I have said, so how far is this line. So if I have this, I have predicted this line, or let's say here, if I have predicted this particular line, let's say I'm pointing it as uh, 1, 2, 3. So if I will have third line, then I will have some residuals. This one we call residual. We will see how we can do that. So we will see that how it is working and how we can find the best representative line. Okay. So now uh, the basics is uh, we have the data, and then we need to find the mathematical relations between this, and then we need to have this process. Now the uh, one more important thing is that when we try to find this model, uh, it is not always that it is just this exact model, right? So we have always some random error. Okay. So what we do is that we try to define that error with the help of epsilon. So uh, linear model. So here what we have is that y is the function of x1, x2 up to xn, beta 1, beta 2 up to beta n, uh, plus epsilon. Okay, so why I have written this plus epsilon, this one is error. Now beta 1, beta 2, beta n. So uh, what does it shows that when we write, let's say y is equal to 2x1 plus 3x2. So these 2 and 3, these are beta 1 and beta 2. So this, if you will write in this way, you already know what is its function. You do not need to write it in form of equation. So we know x1, so here it is 2. So I can write this as y is equal to f of x1, x2, comma 2, 3. So here I can define in this way. So this is our linear model. So now this epsilon is the random error, because whenever we try to uh, fit the model, so now this one is called mathematical model. Okay, so this is the difference between mathematical and statistical model. When you have the mathematical model, when you have the model, you have the exact one. Okay, you will have the exact. So if uh, I will say that x is 3, you can tell me y is 9 or 10 or just exact one. Okay, but in the statistics there is never that kind of certainty. So for that we introduce this epsilon, and we say that it is following the normal distribution 0 1. So that means the error that will be very less if it is following 0 1. In future we can say that how we can deal with the more variance. So if the model has more variability, then we can go through that. So if I'm taking 0 1, so variability is basically the variance is 1. So we know that the variability is less right now. If we will have some sigma square which is greater than 1, let's say 2, 3 or 10 or maybe more than that, that means that model have the more variability, and then it will not, maybe it will not predict the situation very well. Okay, so this one is mathematical model, and this one is a statistical. So we need to take the help of mathematical model, uh, but uh, mathematical model does not help us working in the real life. To work in the real life, we need to have some kind of uncertainty in our model to understand the real data. So basically, if the epsilon is 0, okay. Now here we have seen that it is linear model. Now how we can understand what are linear and non-linear models? So, linear or non-linear model. So a model or relationship is term that is a linear if it is linear in its parameter. So remember that it does not need to require that linearity in x1, x2, x3. Why? Because right now you may think that x1, x2, x3 these are looking like variables, but they are not. These are the parameters. So sorry, these are just data. So when we have when we have data, we have y, x1, x2, x3. So these are not really our parameters. So our parameters is beta 1, beta 2 up to beta n. So if these are non-linear, then it will be non-linear model. Otherwise, it will be linear model. Okay. So uh, let's say I have one example. So y, uh, let's say it is beta 1 x1 is square beta 2 root x and beta 3 exponential of x3, okay, plus epsilon. Now here you can see that uh, there is a square and root and etc in x1, x2, x3, but not in beta i's. So this one is non sorry, this one is linear model. Now if you uh, now if we try to write it in the definition, then the definition is that if you will have a model for which delta y delta beta I is 0, then it is for all I. Okay. So if we try to find this one, uh, sorry, not this one. It needs to be the second one. If it needs to be, sorry, not this. It needs to be the constant one. Okay. So if they are constant, or let's say they are not just constant, let's say they are in this one for all I, if these are independent of beta i's, then it is a linear model. Okay. So if I will do delta y by delta beta 1, it will be x1 square delta y by delta beta 1 is x minus square, delta y by delta, sorry, del, not delta, so del y by del b 2. Okay, so here you can see that these, these and these all three are independent of beta i's. Okay, so they are all independent of beta i's, and that is why it is linear model. Okay, uh, now if I will have another example where it is beta 1 x minus square, beta 2 x2, and log of beta 3 x3 cube. Okay, plus epsilon, plus epsilon. If I will have this, so now you know that if I will have delta y, del y by del b beta 1, it is x1 square, del y by del beta 2, it is x2, uh, del y by del beta 3 will be 1 upon beta 3 x3 cube, right? So here you can see this one is depending on beta 3. So for the beta 1 and beta 2 there is no problem, but for the beta 3, so even if there is only one parameter on which it is dependent, we call it non-linear, right? So that is why that is we call non-linear model. So I hope it is clear. So what we have is that we can define the models into two parts. Okay, so first one is linear. So for the linear one, we have linear regression, here which is non-linear, so here it needs to be linear in parameters, that means beta i's, and uh, uh, linear in variables, it is not required. Here you can see that it needs to be non-linear, and then for variables, no conditions. So if you try to understand this, we have the linear, non-linear. So linear regression model, non-linear regression model, and here we need to have linearity in parameters. Here we need to have non-linearity in parameters, and for variables which are xi's, there is no conditions. Okay, just okay. So till now, what we have seen is that uh, we have done the linear regression model. Uh, Now, so what are the steps we need to follow in all these? So there are some steps. So we need to have the statement of the problem. So what is our problem? Like in our case, the problem is that we need to have the runs, number of runs. Here we the problem is the number of runs. Okay, and the uh, question is we have the sorry, the dependent one is what are the number of balls, previous score, number of practice uh, days. So firstly we need to have what is our problem. Second, we need to have the input variables. Now, if firstly whenever you have anything, it depends on a lot of things, like uh, you may have that one thing is dependent on, let's say, 10 variables, 20 variables, and a lot more. The problem is that how complex your model, uh, the, the accuracy will change, the estimation, whether it is underestimating the result, whether it is overestimating, whether it is overfitting also. So what we have is that sometimes if you take, let's say, 10 variables, 10 dependent variables, and one independent one, you have fitted a model in which what it has done is that it has tried fitting exact, almost exact. Okay, so in the starting your error is very less, but after a time what will happen, these are because the dependent variable, these are sorry, this the independent variable, this these can change in a way they want to be. So what may happen is that when you have taken 10 independent variable and you have find one dependent variable based on that, there is a there is some chance that you have overfitted. What does that mean by overfitted? So in the starting, your data result and your model result. So the theoretical one, what you are getting out of the model and what you have in the real life, these are similar on the time of fitting. But when you try to predict, it will be very different. The theoretical one and the real one. Why? Because you have overfitted. So you have fitted all exactly. Okay. So when you have fitted exactly, what will happen that after a time it has changed. So now you need another model to fit them exact one. So we need to avoid the overfitting as well as underfitting, overestimation, underestimation both. Uh, the next is that so we need to choose some variables to reduce the complexity also. So if we will have very complex model, what it will have is that uh, in the time of very complex model, it leads to uh, have the more time also. So right now we are taking just for 20 values and 30 values, but in real life we will have the values, like we will have real big data, and for that it will be very tough to work with the complex model. So uh, we have a lot of test even. So if let's say I work in the distribution, if I will give you one example with that. So let's say there is a distribution which have two parameters. So let's say normal distribution, so it is mu and sigma square. Let's say I have introduced a distribution which has three parameters now. So it has fitted better, but is it really so much required of third parameter? That is the question. Let's say you have a distribution which have this 5 parameters, 6 parameters, etc. But in that we need to find all those parameters. So whenever we give a data, we need to have those parameters, corresponding parameters. So let's say when you have y, you have x1, x2, x3, x4, x5, x6, etc. Then you need to have beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 4, beta 5, beta 6 also. So you will give the model y, all these x1, x2, x3, x6, and you need to find beta 1, beta 2 up to beta 6. So it will be very tough for uh, the computer even to do that work. So that is why we need to select what are the variables we need in our data. Uh, then we need to have the choice of method by which we are fitting the data. So here, let's say the when I have shown you the line of fitting, that time we are using least square method. There are a lot of methods, so we have to find those parameters. So we have maximum likelihood function, we have least square function, we have weighted least square function, and maximum product spacing, and a lot more. So we need to have that. At the end, after we have fitted everything, we need to have the validity, that this model is valid, and criticism. So criticism is basically, is it really required? So if someone has fitted uh, based on three input variables and I have fitted on four input variables, then I need to show that this particular variable which I have introduced, which I have taken, it is very important to find the result. Okay. And then after that, once we have done everything, once we have created our model, we will do the forecasting. Okay. So here we will have simple linear regression analysis. The next one is simple linear regression analysis. So for the simple linear regression, what we have is that we consider the modeling between one dependent and one independent. Okay. So we are basically taking one input we are giving, and we want just one output. So we are giving the input variable as only one variable. So this is very simple. So we will start from here and we will see how we can do it with the multiple one. Okay. So the simple one is basically the data we have taken, that there is one independent and there is one dependent. So number of balls were independent and number of runs were dependent on the balls. Okay. So here the simple linear regression analysis, we have y is equal to beta naught. So this one is intercept. We need to take beta 1 x plus epsilon. So we say that y, this one is dependent, this one is independent, beta naught and beta 1. These are called. So these are the parameters of the model, which are also called as coefficient terms. So as we know, beta naught, this one is intercept. Beta 1 is slope. So when we have y is equal to mx plus c, okay, so here we say that c is the interceptor, this one is the slope. So similarly here beta naught is interceptor and beta 1 is the slope parameter, right? And this epsilon we say is unobservable error, because there will be some error a- anyways, okay, so you will have some error whenever you create a statistical model. Okay, so now this one is obviously, this one is random firstly, so currently we are taking that epsilon is following normal 0 1. Okay, later on we can change it, uh, or we can, let's just say 0 comma, if I will take variability as sigma square. In the very simple one, we just take this one 1. So that means expected value of epsilon is 0 and the variance of epsilon is sigma square. Now, uh, so if the model is this y is equal to beta naught plus beta 1 x plus epsilon, so if I will try to find the expectation of this, it will be beta naught plus beta 1 x, and the variability of y is sigma square. Now how I can say that, this beta naught and plus beta 1 x, they are not going to change. Once I have the data, I have the data x. Once I have found the model beta naught and beta 1, I have beta naught and beta 1. So these all terms are considered as constant. So expectation of constant is what? It is constant. So if I will try to find expectation of y, it will be beta naught plus beta 1 x, and expectation of epsilon is 0. So it will be just that. And variance of a constant is 0. What will be its variability? It will be 0, because if I have this variable, it does not have any variability. It is just this value. Okay. So expectation and variability of y can be given by this. Okay. So now we need to estimate those parameters. So main work is basically we have y, we have x. We need to find these beta naught and beta 1. Okay, so this is the question. Now for that estimation of parameters. So for estimation of parameters, we have a lot of methods. So methods can be least square, least square estimation, some other can be maximum product spacing, Other also can be method of movements, etc. So there can be literally a lot and lots of that. But these are the most common. So whenever we try to do that, we generally, even in our work, we try to find the estimation by both, and we try that which one is giving the better result. Okay. Now, so the least square estimation. What does it means? We see firstly graphically, and then we try to find it. So as I have said, this is our data. So let's say these are our data set. Okay, and this is the line. Let's say this is the line, which is uh, y. This one is x, this one is y. Let's say this line is y is equal to, so here it will be beta naught intercept term, it will be beta naught plus beta 1 x. So this one, the slope, this slope is beta 1 x, and then we have some error. Now the least square estimation is that we need to find such a line that this, okay, so we will have some value of it, we will have some value of it, we will have some value of it, we will have some value of it. What we need to do is that from our data, draw a perpendicular line on that particular line. So this is the line, we need to have this a perpendicular line. So this needs to be uh, we need to have the closest point, not the perpendicular one. So in this, let's say if it is close to this line, we need to just draw this line. Just remove this. So we need, or okay. Now all these values we need to find. So this one, this one, this one also there is a point, and this one also. Now here let's say it is 2, it is 3, it is uh, something like that, 3, 3.5, and then we need to sum it all. So let's say its summation is 10, and we need to take the positive one. Okay, so let's say 2 plus 2 plus modulus of minus 3, then minus 3.5, something like that we need to find in that way. It is 10. Okay, it is 10. Now if I will try to create any other other line will have this summation greater than 10. Okay, so if I will draw any other line, so what will happen if I will try to make one line, let's say here, then it will have closure, so it will have less uh, lesser residual from here, but for here its distance will increase. So it it will be, let's say, 2 2 2, but in the above one it is 4 4, so it will be greater. So now its value will increase. So this is a line for which whatever estimation we will have, any other line will have summation uh, greater than or equal to 10. This is least square estimation. Is it clear graphically? If it is not clear, you can ask. Otherwise, we will move to how we can find it theoretically, how we can understand it theoretically.
Ma'am, why the name has come least square? Does that
Because,
have?
yeah, sorry. So rather than modulus, we take actually a square. So we take, uh, let's say, the difference is z1. So let's say, or alpha, let's say. So let's say this difference is alpha 1, this difference is alpha 2, alpha 3, alpha 4, alpha 5, alpha 6, alpha 7, alpha 8, alpha 9, alpha 10, and then alpha 11. So if I will have alpha naught up to alpha 11, what will happen? The negative one will cancel out the positive one. So that is why we take a square.
Okay,
So we need to
okay,
minimize this. So that is why it is least. So minimum least square estimation. Okay. Uh, Now the next one. So we will find how we can find this least square estimation theoretically. So we will have yi. It will be beta naught plus beta 1 xi plus epsilon I. So for each I, we will have error. What we need is that, okay. So when we have y is equal to mx plus c, what we do is that we say if x is 3, y will be, let's say, 4. It is related in this way. So it is gonna happen always. So when we have y is equal to mx plus c, we have this 7 c, this one is m. So we have all the data points here. Okay, so that is why we can understand what is the result. But in the real life, there is error. There is this error is this. So this one is the error, so which I was writing with the alpha naught basically. So we have basically uh this one. So epsilon naught. So this one is basically error we have. Now we need to minimize this error. So to minimize this error, firstly we write it in this way. So we write, uh, and we need to find, so it is basically summation, right? So we need to have summation epsilon I square, and then we need to minimize this. Got it? So we say that now epsilon, now this I square is basically what? Yi minus beta naught minus beta 1 xi square summation I equal to 1 to n, right? Now here it is, we already know what is yi, we already know what is xi. So we have to find beta naught and beta 1. So it is given by s beta naught and beta 1, because this s is basically function of beta naught plus beta 1. It is function of these two variable and we need to find beta naught and beta 1. So what we need to do is that uh, find beta naught beta 1 in such a way it minimizes error, right? So we need to find beta uh, naught and beta 1 in such a way it minimizes the error. So what we need to do is that we need to minimize it. So to in order to minimize, what we need to do is that uh, to find that, what we do is that we do first derivative, and if the second derivative of a function is greater than 0, then it minimizes the function. So like this one. So here it is minima, here it is maxima, right? So we say in that way, if delta naught, so sorry, del naught, del del 2 s by del beta naught, that needs to be greater than 0. If it is greater than 0, and then for beta naught and for beta 1 both greater than 0, then it minimizes. So here we say that it minimizes. Okay. So what we do is that we need to find first derivative and put it equal to 0 and find sine of second derivative. Okay. So first derivative will be del of s beta naught beta 1 based on del beta naught. So if I will do it with respect to del beta naught, so it will be 2 will come. Okay, so let's say x square, so it will be 2x, and for the beta naught it is minus will come, so it will be minus 2 summation y I minus beta naught minus beta 1 xi. Okay, if I will try to do the similar, uh, so it will be minus 2 summation yi minus beta naught minus beta 1 xi. Okay, just just a minute. Okay, Okay, so uh, here, if I will try to do it with beta 1, it will be minus 2 yi minus beta naught minus beta 1 xi. And for minus beta 1 xi, for this one it is 0. For minus beta 1 xi, it will be minus of xi. So minus I have put already there. It will be xi. Is it clear? This one? Okay. So next step is that after finding first derivative, we need to put it equal to 0. So we will put these two equation equal to 0. So if I will try to put first one equal to 0, it will be yi. Uh, let's say first and second. So if I will try to put this, it will be yi equal to beta naught plus beta 1 xi. Right? This is first equation. Uh, These are all in summation. So let's say if I will write in this way, summation of yi minus beta naught minus beta 1 xi is equal to 0. So this one is basically summation yi minus, now this one is constant, so it is, so there is no I to 1 and it will be minus beta 1 summation xi. What I can do is that I can divide the whole by n. It will be summation yi by n minus beta naught minus beta 1 summation xi upon n. So summation yi upon n summation xi upon n is basically its expectation. So it is y bar minus beta naught minus beta 1 x bar is equal to 0. So it will be, from here we can see that beta naught is equal to y bar minus beta 1 x bar. This is the first equation. Sorry, this is the third equation we have given already first. So this is one relation we have found from the first equation. Now we will take the second equation. So second equation is summation by ixi minus beta naught xi xi by, sorry, okay. So if I will multiply it inside, it will be beta naught xi beta 1 xi square. So uh, so now it will be, uh, what we do is that in place of beta naught we put it here. Okay, so it will be summation yi xi. So beta naught we can put in the summation form here. So beta naught is summation yi. Beta naught is basically summation yi minus beta 1 xi or from here. So n beta naught is basically summation yi minus beta 1 xi summation n divided by minus sorry, in the multiply there is one xi minus beta 1 xi square, which one it will be equal to 0, right? So now what we will do is that we will take these multiplies, and then we will have summation of yi xi minus yi xi upon n. Okay. So from this equation, we will take xi x bar square. Or what we can do, we can write it in terms of x bar directly. So let us try it in that way. So we have summation yi minus beta I xi square minus beta. So it is y bar minus beta 1 x bar summation of xi is equal to 0. Okay. So we have summation of yixi, and here we have summation of beta I xi. Sorry, beta I is not there. Beta 1 is there. So it will be beta 1. So for the beta 1, if I will take common, it will be uh, minus summation xi square and minus x bar summation of xi plus summation yi xi minus y bar summation of xi, right? So from here we can write beta I as we need to add some things and then minus, so it will be at the end it will come as summation of xi minus x bar square uh, and this one will come as summation xi minus x bar yi minus y bar. So what we need to do is that we need to do, so let's say summation xi square is already here. It is x bar xi square. So we need to add plus x bar square minus x bar. So we need to do some calculation in between this. So after that we will have beta 1 like this. So now this one is summation xi minus x bar and yi minus y bar. This one is covariance, and the below one is variance. So covariance of x comma y divided by variance of x. So this can be written as s of xy divided by s of sx. So this is beta 1. Now from the beta 1 we can write beta naught as uh, y bar minus s of xy s of sx times x bar. So now we have found our beta 1 and beta naught, right? So beta naught and beta 1 is found already. Now what we need to do is that we need to find a Hessian matrix. So what is Hessian matrix? The thing is that when we have it for one variable, we just find uh, del f by del x, let's say 0, and del 2f by del x2, and we say, sorry, here we just find t, we do not have any parameter. And if it is greater than 0, we say it is finding minima. If it is less than 0, we find it as maxima. But for the 2 parameter, what happens if it is greater than 0 for one variable, and what if it is less than 0 for the another one? What will happen in that? So that is why we need to find the Hessian matrix. So Hessian matrix for is del 2 s upon del beta 2 beta 2 del 2s upon del beta naught del beta 1. So these two are same. So these two are same. This is the Hessian matrix. So it will be, now we need to find it again. So here our first one. Now if I will do uh, another time derivative by beta naught, what will happen? This one is constant. For this it will be minus 1, and this is constant. So it is not dependent on b naught, it is not dependent on b naught. This one is only dependent on b naught. So it will come as minus 2 and then summation of beta naught minus 1. So for summation it will be n. So it will be 2n, right? So if I will do derivative 2 times for this, it will be 2n. Now if I will do, so for the beta naught I have, if I will do with respect to beta 1, this one is constant, this one is constant, this one is only part. So it will be beta 1 will be 1, so it will be minus of xi. So minus of xi summation, okay, so it is summation xi